Good morning, all of you. Today we will be studying barriers to communication. In our last lecture, we had learnt about communication, what is communication, what are the various types of communication. Also, we learnt about the networks in communication, in both formal and informal communication. That means the pattern of flow of information, that is what is called the communication network. And there are different patterns of flow of information, both in case of formal and informal communication. Today we will be talking about what are the hindrances or barriers that may occur in communication. That is also called noise to communication. When we were learning about the process of communication, we learned that there is also one element which is called noise in the process of communication, and that obstructs the flow of communication. So, what are the various types of barriers in communication? We have to understand that, so that once the barrier is understood, then there can be ways also through which those barriers can be removed. So, first of all, the obstructions or the barriers to communication. So, barriers to communication means anything that does not allow a person to receive or understand a message in its original sense. We have learned communication is never effective unless and until there is common understanding between sender and receiver. So, if there is any kind of obstruction or if there is any kind of hindrance in the process of communication, we see that it becomes a barrier. So, barrier means anything that doesn't allow a person to either send or receive the message so that it can be properly understood, and that becomes an obstruction to the flow of information. That is why it is called barrier. And if there is any kind of barrier in communication or in the flow of information between the sender and the receiver, we see that in an organization, the organization may suffer because of it. The information may not be passed properly. There may be incorrect transmission of information, or there may be delay in work, as a result of which the entire work suffers. That is why also in the usual course we see that communication is something which takes place in every walk of life. When two or more persons they are interacting, there is need to see that interaction which takes place, that is properly done, so that one who is conveying and one who is receiving the message, it is properly sent and received. But sometimes it doesn't happen, and that becomes a hindrance. So there are various types of barriers to communication. We are going to understand those barriers. The first barrier is the semantic barrier. Semantic is a branch of linguistic, and it relates to the meaning of any word or expression. That is why semantic barrier, it is related with the difficulties and hindrances that may occur in the process of encoding and decoding of the message into words and impression. We have seen whenever in the process of communication there is encoding and decoding. Encoding means conversion of message into particular symbols, and decoding means converting the symbol into message. So if there is no proper encoding and decoding, the words or the expressions which has been sent by the sender will not be properly understood or received by the receiver, and that relates to obstruction. That is what is semantic barrier. That is why it is related with language flaws, or it may be, that is why it is a part of linguistic, language related barrier. And that barrier basically focuses on encoding and decoding of the message into words and impressions. Some of the types of semantic barriers are, the first one is badly expressed message. Sometimes the sender is conveying something, but if the sender is not having proper vocabulary, if the sender is using wrong words, or if the sender is omitting the necessary words in communication, then the receiver is not going to receive it in correct sense. As a result of which, there will always be the barrier, which is a type of semantic barrier associated with badly expressed message. Message is the content which is to be delivered, and that content should have adequate proper words and proper vocabulary. It should be used always keeping in mind who is receiving it, as a result of which, unless the sender is keeping all these things in mind and then conveying the message is not going to be understood by the receiver in exact sense, and that is not going to make the communication effective. So first one is that badly expressed message. Second type of semantic barrier is symbols with different meaning. Symbols or words. Sometimes the words which is used by the sender or the one who is conveying the message, it is having different meanings. So once a word is having different meanings and it is being used by the sender, the receiver should receive the meaning of that word in the same sense as the sender has sent. Otherwise, it will be interpreted wrongly. It will be understood wrongly. If the receiver is understanding different meaning of that word, then the communication will be ineffective. There are so many cases. For example, the word value. If I say, I value your friendship, that word value has been used. And another sentence may be, what is the value of learning computer skills? So in these two sentences, we can see that the word value has been used in different ways for different meanings. So unless and until we see that the words which has been used, that is giving the same meaning with which the sender has sent the message, the communication will not be complete. So it should be understood in the same meaning. Sometimes it is seen that it is understood with a different meaning, and that is why the communication becomes a hindrance, or communication is incomplete, or it is not effective communication. Third is faulty translations. Now in the usual course, we see that nowadays there is a system of translation of each and everything into different languages. So if a translator is not efficient in translating the content from one language to another, we will see that the communication will be ineffective. For example, if a message has been typed in English and it has to be translated into Hindi for the workers, and if that translation is wrong or it has not been done properly, then in that case communication will not be effective. So third, faulty translation sometimes becomes a hindrance, and that is also related with the language part. That is why it is semantic barrier. Fourth is unclarified assumptions. Unclarified assumptions means assumptions which has different interpretations, assumptions with different interpretations. Sometimes whenever the sender is conveying the message or the information, we see that that information which is being conveyed, that can be assumed in different ways. So if the assumption is not clear as to with what sense that information has been conveyed, and the receiver is not receiving the assumption in the same sense because it has not been properly clarified, then it is said to be unclarified assumption. For example, if the boss to his subordinates calls him in his office and says, send the report tomorrow. Now this is a vague statement. The boss is thinking that tomorrow morning that report will be on his table. But the subordinate feels that he has the whole day, and while he will leave from office to home, at that time he is going to submit the report. So that assumption is again unclarified. Wrong assumption by the sender and the receiver. The sender has assumed something else and the receiver has assumed something else. There can be so many examples. The boss gives instruction to his employee to take care of the guests who have arrived. Another example. The employee thinks that the boss wants the guests to be taken with proper care at a hotel, whereas the boss meant that those who were the visitors, their food, their accommodation, their conveyance, all these things should be properly taken care of. So again, it is a case where the assumption is not clear as to what the sender assumes and what the receiver assumes. So if there is different assumptions between the sender and the receiver, it is what is called unclarified assumptions, or assumptions with different interpretations between the sender and the receiver, that leads to an obstruction in communication. Then we move on to the next type of semantic barrier, that is technical jargon. Now specialists generally in their field, they are in a habit of using technical words, and while communicating sometimes they forget to the level of people to whom they are communicating. For example, if a manager while communicating with the workers starts communicating and using such technical terms which the workers are unaware about, then will the communication be complete? Because the manager, not understanding the level of understanding of the workers, communicates with the workers in technical terms, and that becomes a hindrance in communication. There are so many technical terms which is used in every field. We can take the example of doctors. Sometimes while doctors while talking to the patients, they use so many technical words, medical terms, which the patients are unaware about, as a result of which it is not properly understood by the patient, and that becomes a barrier, that becomes a hindrance. Last in semantic barrier is body language and gesture decoding. Whenever the sender is conveying any information or sending any information, the body language and gestures should convey whatever the words are being used. There should be match between whatever is being expressed verbally and also the gestures which a person is showing. If the gesture and the expression doesn't match, then there is always a barrier. There are so many cases. Have you understood this? Sometimes, or if you are not happy and your facial expression, you are trying to scold and you are smiling, then whatever you are expressing, you are scolding and then you are smiling, then that is not going to impact, because body is saying something else and your words are saying something else. That means your expression is verbal expression is something else. So there is mismatch between the two, and that is not going to impact the receiver. If the teacher is angry and in angry mood, if I am trying to stare someone, that may be through the sign or symbol also, the expressions should be such that it may give a clear instruction or a message to whatever I am trying to convey. So there may be different ways. So these are some of the semantic barriers, and we have learned that semantic barriers always relates with that kind of barrier which is associated with encoding or decoding of the message into correct words and impressions. The second type of barrier is the psychological barrier. Psychological barrier relates with mind, state of mind, one's emotions, which are psychological factors. If a person is not in a proper state of mind, or a person's emotion is not under control, a person is in a stressful mode, a person is angry, a person is worried, then the sender or the receiver, if the sender is conveying anything in an angry mood or a worried person, he won't be able to convey properly whatever he wants to convey. An aggrieved receiver, a worried receiver will also not be in a position to receive the information in a proper manner. In that case also the communication will not be complete, because that is a psychological barrier. The present state of mind of a person is not normal, as a result of which there will always be a hindrance to communication. So there may be different examples: worried person, an angry person, maybe a sender or a receiver, because the psychological state of mind is not normal of a person, as a result of which the communication will not take place properly. So there are different types of psychological barriers. In an organization also there are situations where we see that the state of mind is, or you may say, is stressful sometimes, or an angry mood may be there, or a worried sender and receiver will be there, as a result of which we see that the communication doesn't take place effectively. The first type of psychological barrier is premature evaluation. That means the receiver has made up his mind about what information is being shared with him without listening to what the sender is trying to convey, or before the sender has completed sharing the information, the receiver evaluates or assesses the information on the basis of his or her prejudices, or on the basis of past experiences, as a result of which we see that the communication is incomplete. I give many times this example. Sometimes what happens in the question paper? Always instructions are given how to attempt the paper, and it is advisable that each and every student should read the instruction, because sometimes there are few things which is new, but the students take this for granted that this is the instruction which comes every time, and this year also there won't be any change, and without reading it they start the paper and miss some of the very important new thing which has been introduced, because premature evaluation has been done. A person has a preconceived notion related to what is there in the form of instruction, and that is why there is always a chance that the information which the receiver receives is incomplete or not properly, you may say, communicated, as a result of which the communication is ineffective. So, premature evaluation. We can take so many examples. I gave you one example. Second is lack of attention. Sometimes we see that the receiver is not paying attention to what the sender is saying. Maybe the receiver is preoccupied in something or is not interested in listening, as a result of which the communication is incomplete or it is ineffective. An employee goes to his boss with some of his problems. I'm giving you an example. And the boss doesn't pay any attention. So that is going to impact the psychological state of that person who has gone for with his problem to the boss. And that impacts the organization. So lack of attention, it may be due to the boss is busy sometimes, that he doesn't pay attention, or lightly he has taken the matter. It may be any reason, but the communication becomes incomplete. Third, loss of transmission and poor retention. There are 2 points in this: loss of transmission and poor retention. Loss of transmission generally takes place when the information has to be transmitted through different levels. Then the information is sometimes lost or distorted. When it is passing through different levels in the organization, and there are so many levels in the organization, then there is every chance that there will be transmission loss. Or if it is oral communication, then there is also a chance of transmission loss. And poor retention. Retention can only be possible of any information If a person is first of all interested in hearing it, in the information, if the person is not interested in what is being conveyed to the person, that means the receiver is not interested, then he is not going to retain whatever. Sometimes you must have seen in the class the teacher is explaining and you are out of the class, physically present but mentally absent from the class, then you are not going to receive the information which the teacher is sharing with you. So that is what is poor retention, because you are not paying proper attention, not paying attention. Not paying attention can be one reason. If you are not interested, अरे टीचर तो रोज यही पढ़ाती है, यही बोल रही है, तो it is not going to impact you, and that creates a psychological barrier. And finally, the fourth type of psychological barrier is distrust. Distrust between sender and receiver. If the sender and the receiver don't trust each other, then the communication will not be effective. For example, if there are two employees working in the same organization and they don't trust each other, although they talk to each other in the organization, but they don't have faith. If one of them says, tomorrow there is a meeting of the employees at 12 noon, the other one doesn't take care or doesn't pay attention to it. Why? Because he doesn't have faith on him. ये तो ऐसे ही बोलता है, तो कुछ अता पता नहीं, because that trust is lost. So sometimes because of this distrust, we see that it becomes a barrier to communication. Although it was correct, the information was correctly shared, but because of lack of trust, we see that the other person doesn't try to understand and is not interested in listening to what the sender is saying. So these are some of the psychological barriers. Then we move on to the third type of barrier, that is organizational barrier. Organizational barrier means factors related with organization and that obstruct the flow of communication. So what can be those factors which can obstruct the flow of communication and become a barrier? There may be organizational policy, first of all, which may obstruct the free flow of communication. If the policy is such in the organization that doesn't allow effective or free flow of communication to take place amongst the various levels of the organization, we see that communication will not be effective. For example, if there is centralized pattern in the organization, centralized pattern means everything is centralized to the top level management. So lower level and middle level management hardly have any role to play in the organization. As a result of which, the policy of the organization is centralized policy. So we see that doesn't allow free flow of communication to take place with the other levels in the organization, as a result of which sometimes it becomes a great obstacle. The policy may be explicitly or implicitly stated in the organization, but if it doesn't allow free flow of communication, then that becomes an obstacle, and it happens in the organization. The organization has to take care of this. Rules and regulation. Sometimes cumbersome rules and regulations of the organization doesn't allow free flow of communication to take place. Rigid rules and regulation that a person cannot communicate beyond the officially defined roles and there is a lot of restriction on it, then that becomes an obstruction in the free flow of communication, and that is an organizational barrier. Status. Third, a status conscious person doesn't want to communicate freely with the subordinates. Sometimes it happens that the managers, they are so much status conscious that it doesn't allow their subordinates to come and express themselves, and that becomes a hindrance to the organization. Complexity in the organization structure. If the organization structure is such that there are so many levels, if there are many levels in the organization structure, then it becomes a complex organization structure, because the information will have to pass through all the levels in the organization. And in that case, we see that the information is distorted, there is loss of transmission of information, and that becomes a drawback due to the complex organization structure. Finally, organizational facilities. The facilities in the organization differ from organization to organization. In some of the organizations, the facilities are such that it provides free flow of communication through maintaining social interactions. There may be frequent meetings, there may be complaint box, there may be suggestions invited from time to time. So there may be different committees through which the committee members could communicate freely, and in this way we see that if the facilities are more in the organization, better are the chances that the communication will be good. And if the communication is good, then only we see that the work is carried out. If there are less chances of communication to take place between the superior and subordinates and amongst the interaction amongst the various levels in the organization, we see that it becomes an organizational barrier. Now finally is the personal barrier. Personal barrier relates with the factors concerning both sender and receiver. When the personal factors related to both sender and receiver create an influence on effective communication. For this, some of the barriers, personal barriers, sometimes that is related with superiors,